Hi, I'm Kai Narezo from Flamenco Explained. For this lesson, I have borrowed an absolutely amazing guitar. It's a 1962 Miguel Rodriguez from Cordoba. Rodriguez and Reisch were both from Cordoba, and they just made some of the most fantastic flamenco guitars ever. And this thing is just, I really don't want to give it back. So what we're looking at today is something that I can't even really call a falseta, but it's a bunch of little flamenco things that Moraito used to play. And I should say Moraito was one of the grooviest flamenco guitarists ever to have lived, definitely one of my favorites. The reason I wouldn't call this a falseta though is because it's not one thing with like a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's a bunch of little bits of Bulerias strung together so artfully that it just sounds amazing. And that's what I want to look at, how he did that and how he made that sound so cool. And in the process, we're going to see how little bits of Buleria flow into and out of one another, which is true of all the palos. This happens not just in Buleria and everything, but we're just looking at a Buleria today. The first thing that happens is a very syncopated thing that starts on the end of 5. It goes 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, and 10. So that's a little weird in itself, but you know, it's all kind of groovy and syncopated. But what's interesting is that that by itself, we could use that phrase, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and go right back in a compás. And that would be a great little thing to use, right? As we're learning this whole thing, let's sort of notice how to recycle all of this material. So that little thing right there, beautiful little, I call it a 7, 8, 9, 10 phrase, even though it starts way before 7, because generally they're 7, 8, 9, 10 phrases. If you look at my other video about 7, 8, 9, 10 phrases, and knowing your distance from 10, you'll see a little more about what I'm talking about. So what happens here is rather than ending and going back into compás, we do this little 10, 11, 12 phrase. 10, 11, 12. And again, we could end there. 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, and 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. And we could be back in a compás and not play any more of this little thing that Moraito plays. But he takes it even further. So to this, he continues, right? This is 10, 11, 12. Which gets us to 10 again. So we could take this as a self-contained little thing. 12, and we're back in compás. But wait, there's more. And then from here, so again, really helpful to know, where does that start? We just came out of and then, so that is 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's syncopated. 9 and 10, 11, 12. So this D, this open D is our 12, our downbeat, if you want to think of it that way. 9 and 10, 11, 12, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12, and 1 and 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, if you wanted to end it there, right? So again, we could take this little phrase, 12, 3, 6, 8, 10, 11, 12. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. And we could be done there. But he continues with 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, and 9, and 10. 10, right? We could be done here. Up to here, we could play. But he doesn't stop there. After 12, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Another place we could be done. And another little chunk that if you listen to Moraito at all, he uses this all the time. And all kinds of variations. He had a bunch of different ways of playing that basic idea, which is a 2-feel. It's 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Really, the count is 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Another place you could absolutely end, and you could start anywhere along the way, right? You don't have to go back to the very beginning of this whole string of little things to play this. You can borrow any little piece. But once again, when we get here, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Right? So, this is actually a not uncommon thing in Buleria, but it's a little tricky. It starts on 10, 11, 12, right? And if you listen to some of the older Paco stuff, you'll hear. And I shouldn't just say older Paco stuff, it's just sort of a traditional Buleria thing. But it starts on 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. So Moraito is taking this idea and making it groovy, like he did with everything. 7, 8, 9, 10. 7, 8, 9, 10. You know what's coming. He doesn't actually end there. He does 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now that's a tricky moment, because we're ending on 4, but it sounds like we're ending on 10. And this happens in Bulerias, and this is one of those things that people love to argue about online. And really what they're arguing about is, hey, we're all kind of agreed, but my name for this is better than your name for this. So I have very little patience for most of these online arguments about extra 6 beats or half a compás or playing in 6s. It all means the same thing. And it is really hard to explain and define this, because most of the time a bulería is in 12s, as we've seen, almost always. But you can feel a bulería in 6s in a way where you're basically saying, I'm letting go of the religion of 12, and sometimes 4 equals 10. And I understand that this is something that is very hard to accept at first, or to understand really. The way I understood this was when I saw dancers dance 6 more beats than I expected in a specific place. And for me, the way it really landed back when I was playing for dance class all the time and for all the dancers in the world that I could, what I heard that made this make sense to me was this: 12, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You'll notice I changed my counting in there. I didn't do 12, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, which is what it is. I did 12, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Why did I do that? I basically changed the counting because to me it feels like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. if I'm doing anything in a 2-feel kind of thing, it kind of feels like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. At a certain point, I hit a 12 again, and it feels like Bulerias compás. So this is a tricky moment, maybe a little beyond the scope of this particular video, but just know that this is a thing that happens, and the more you play Bulerias, the more this is going to make sense. And really, I would say, listen to as much Bulerias as possible to get a sense of why this works. Where we were was... which is where we finally end, because that's a very definitive sounding llamada. We started here, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 3, 4, and 5, and 6, 7, 8, and 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I'm thinking of that 4 as a 10, and then 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And that's where this little bunch of things happens to end. But if we hadn't put that llamada there, or that cierre, whatever you want to call it, we could have continued stringing these little bits of bulería together. And just as another note, from the very beginning, we could start this whole thing where we do and 6 and 7, 8 and 9 and 10. If that's a little weird, we could start with 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 and 9 and 10, 11, 12. Continue as normal, and we've replaced that first little thing, because everything in flamenco is modular. Everything can sort of fit in if you understand where it starts and where it ends. And that's what I hope you've gotten out of this video. On the notation, I will note the beats where everything starts and where it ends, although it's always arguable. You know, is this really the end, or is it the end where the next thing starts? But I will write down where I consider them to start and end, and hopefully that will help you make sense of little bits. And I would suggest you take each little bit, for example, and figure out where it starts and ends, use it by itself, and then attach it to the next thing to get the most out of this video, and also the most out of this little chunk of amazing Moraito goodness.